Alright guys, for this tutorial I'm going to show you how to make a really powerful logo burn followed by an explosion. We're going to be creating this with Realflow and Turbulence FD and finally export it with Octane render. So let's take a look at what we're going to be creating today. At the end, I'll show you some techniques I used in After Effects to add some finishing touches to the render. So let's get into the setup. First things first, we have a spline emitter with the spline object as our logo. I haven't touched on any of the settings, so everything should be set to default. Next, we have a noise field effector that just adds a bit of randomness to the whole simulation, and it just kind of makes it more human in a way. The most important effector in this case is the D-spline, which holds it all together. And at the end here, you can see we're animating the radial strength to make it sort of explode. So the Turbulence FD emitter goes on the Realflow spline emitter. And under channels we have the temperature value set to 1, density to 4, fuel 0 and burn 1. Another important thing to mention is the volume texture, which is just an electric noise that's scaled 500% with the contrast set to 25. This is a thing that I personally do on all of my projects, and it just makes the whole thing look more crispy in a way. Now under the force tab, we have the velocity weight set to 200 and the pressure set to 300. Now let's go ahead and move on to the Turbulence FD container. Let's have a look at what's going on under the simulation tab. So first, we have the velocity where I've set it to clip below 2000. Under wind, we have the Y and Z set to 1 with the wind speed set to 200 to make the smoke flow backwards and not stay in front of our logo. The verticity is currently set at 25 with the density as our intensity channel. The turbulence is set to 500 with, again, the density as our intensity mapping. Down here, we have the smallest size set to 50 and the largest size I've cranked up to 500. Under temperature, we have cooling at 60% and buoyancy at 100 and the buoyancy direction again at the Y and Z axis. I encourage you to play around with these settings and experiment with the results by turning the cooling parameter down if you want more flames in your render. The density channel is similar to the temperature channel, but we have dissipation instead of cooling. It's currently set at 15% and the gravity is at 500 with again the gravity direction to Y and Z axis. We can skip the fuel channel, but make sure your burn channel is active and you can leave all the settings to default. Let's move on to some of the Octane elements. Most of the videos you'll find online will tell you to convert the Turbulence FD cache to VDB, but there is an easier way to do this that's less time consuming and lets you render Turbulence FD simulations in Octane with just a few clicks. All you gotta do is right click the Turbulence FD container and move down to Cinema 4D Octane tags and apply the object tag. This of course won't necessarily work if you're using another render engine, but I know some engines like Redshift and Arnold have similar options. Now go ahead and set the absorption and scattering channel to density and leave the emission channel on temperature. Now in the volume medium, I like to set the density all the way up as far as it goes, all the way to 10,000. Now the length step has a magic number and that's 0.085, because then it still looks good while keeping render times relatively short. Now go ahead and set the absorption all the way to black and the scattering to a light gray. Go ahead and drag the saturation all the way down and set this value to 70. Under emission, I set the power to 0.2, but feel free to experiment with this value in your own productions. Finally, we have the volume gradient that's basically just a linear gradient that goes from red to yellow. Make sure you change this max value to 2 though. Under the Octane Camera Imager tab, you'll see I've turned the highlight compression all the way up, and I set the response to linear together with neutral response. I went ahead and turned the saturation down to 0.75 just to create this washed out dramatic feeling. Now this is obviously something you can do in After Effects, but I find it easier to set as much of the tone of the video as possible in Cinema 4D instead of relying too heavily on post-production. The hot pixel removal is dragged all the way down to 0.35, because volume rendering tends to create a lot of fireflies and hot pixels, but since we want to keep the render well optimized, we'll do it the easy way with hot pixel removal. That's it for the Cinema 4D part. Let's move on to After Effects. Right off the bat there's a lot of stuff going on, so I'll start out by showing the first thing I did. First off, I took the last frame of the render and froze it. I added a turbulent displace and a radial blur to it, and animated the turbulence with this time times 50 expression right here. This just gives the clip more ambience. Then I went ahead and duplicated our main clip, but I added a fast blur on top to smooth things out. Here is how everything looks so far. Now I got this smoke clip and changed its blending mode to color dodge. I used a free plugin called Color Vibrance by Video Copilot to change the smoke color to red. Then on top of that, we have the same smoke clip but it's feathered, and the blending mode is set to screen. Here's how the smoke looks together with the rest of the composition. Now, here you can see there's this fire animation that's kind of charging up right before the explosion. This is also made with another free add-on called Action Effects Builder. I really recommend you go check these guys out. They have some amazing stuff and it's all free. Just add some motion blur to it to make it look more interesting. Next up is this neon blue explosion asset. Again, you'll see I used the Video Copilot color vibrance to add and change the color of the clip. And I went ahead and used Red Giant's Universe Glitch transition just to transition away from it. After that, I animated the exposure and changed the blending mode to divide. I did some color grading in Magic Bullet looks just to make the whole scene pop. I used a 3D LUT by Peter McKinnon to add a bluish tint. I added some diffusion and pop, followed by Telecin Net and a bleach bypass. That's pretty much all I got to show you. Let's go ahead and take a look at what we got. Not so bad. Good luck on your own productions, and all the best.